Okay, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place due to the outbreak of the coronavirus, this meeting of the Town of Berlin Board of Selectmen will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time. The Town of Berlin will use best efforts to post an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting on the town's webpage, the town's YouTube channel, and approved minutes will be posted on My Town Government. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to attend the virtual meeting may attend via the Zoom webinar platform in one of two ways, with both audio and video access, or by telephone audio only. Should any board member have technical difficulties or lose access to the meeting will recess for a period of time to see whether access can be restored. If not, the meeting will be continued to another date agreed to by a majority of the board or adjourned until the next scheduled meeting. I think that's it. So we'll call the meeting to order at 7:04. Meetings of the Board of Selectmen are generally recorded for transmission on both Berlin Cable TV and YouTube. Your voice, image, and or telephone number may be recorded. We have approval of the July 6th open session meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to accept the July 6th open session minutes.
I will second.
Thank you. And are there any questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. Keith, aye.
Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Margaret, I don't believe we have any correspondence.
No new correspondence this week.
Okay. And is there,
There isn't anybody.
I was going to say general public comment, but I don't think we have anyone.
Nope.
All righty, then we're going to skip over that one. And we'll move on to the Fire and EMS Department report. Hi, Chief Clark.
Good evening. How's everybody? Scott, it's nice to meet you. Welcome to the board.
Nice to meet you too, Ken.
How's everybody doing?
Aye.
Yeah, nice to see you, Pig. Yeah, I'm going to quickly go over the June activity report for the fire department. If there's any questions, just sing out. Then some of the projects that we've been working on that are near and dear here. We had one mutual aid structure fire, was to a mill in Clinton. The ladder worked really hard on one of those really hot days. There was a large fire, but everyone came home safe. Other than that, we had 17 fire calls for the month, which would be an engine responding to something. There was 20 EMS responses, which is the ambulance, 2 motor vehicle accidents. Public service is 24, which is just a request. There's many different ways that it happens, but just to assist the general public. There was 1 lost person search, 2 vehicle fires out on the highway, 1 assist to the police, and a couple of brush fires to round out the month there. And so it was a busy month, 70 calls. We're kind of getting back on track after that slowdown due to the COVID. This is going to be normal, and I expect it to be higher. We also sent the monthly fire prevention activity report from the fire marshal. If there's any questions to that, I can call that up and I can try to answer those. But that's pretty much self-explanatory. A couple of the programs that I'd like to briefly discuss with you is where we are with the per diem advanced life support program. Because right now we're in the licensing stage and identifying how and when we want to hire per diem medics. It's like we're going to do it per diem. It is still a little bit up in the air on how many hour shifts, but looking at the data from the incident report It looks like 12-hour shift for 7 days a week would be the way to start because it's busiest operationally from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That 07 to 1900 hours. So that and then it drops off after that. Not that there's not serious calls after that, but the majority of the calls as the town kind of quiets down in the evening is quieter through the night. So that's where we're going with that. But we're in full swing with identifying the equipment needs, in full swing with the application process, and the EMS committee has been working really hard on all aspects to get that moving. It's a big program. It's a lot of work, and we're moving forward with that. Another important, excuse me, another important community engagement is the code red system. Chief Galvin is the coordinator for the community in the code red system. I talked with him last week that kind of near and dear to my heart, this whole code red program. And I asked for a couple of weeks to kick out, to really go aggressively at the community with variable message board and also through the fire department and the town Facebook pages to get people interested in it and to get more people to sign up. I think we have approximately 14 to 1,500 phones, and we're seeing how much more we can prove over that. So you'll see a lot of things go out for that. The very message board will be at Central Street, opposite Pleasant, by the nice garden there, and with a little message on for people to sign up. And for the people who don't have internet access, we're going to have the ability to have them fill out a form with the minimum required information on it, and then someone in-house here, most likely the administrative manager Sharon, can sign them up if they don't have that capability from at their homes or wherever they are. And then other thing that we're doing is a couple of weeks, two other things actually is, and one is near and dear to Peg's heart, is when the code red push is done, we're going to jump right into house numbers. I've been on a couple of calls in the last week, and I personally ran into two almost in a row that there was no house number. So it's like, we're going to push that. We're going to give it a hard kick, Peg. And it's like, again, the variable message board, there'll be some releases when the code red's done over the Facebook pages. It's an important things. And it's just one of those things. I think very few people are against house numbers, but it just takes it takes some time to build up and get it done with a lot of people. So there's a huge impact. So it's like, I drove by a house, first thing in the world you can do. And I said, yep, I got to back up. And it's like, but it is what it is. And you've talked about it extensively in a positive way, Peg. Thank you. I'm going to try to do what I can from my position here to get that enhanced and get the community rolling on that.
If there are members of the public that want to start reaching out and fixing their house numbers, who's the right person to reach out to? Is that you or?
I would help. If they don't have a number, it would be the fire marshal. He assigns them. That's his capacity on a day-to-day basis to assign house numbers. Even on the seniors, or if someone was not capable, this will be in the handout that goes after the code red, is we could schedule to have the on-duty personnel go down and help the people put the numbers up. They can get them, and they can, right. The ladies and the guys can get down on duty and attach those to the house form. So if someone doesn't have the capability, so we need to get them up any way that we can do it. By hook or crook, we'll get it done.
Because I might know a place that might be a group of townhomes in town who have had issues with fire and police finding the right units and seeing what the right signage could be to help that out. I might know of people who are interested in improving our signage up here. There you go. That's good then. Yeah, we can work on that. I'm not sure sitting here in my where you mean off the top of my head, but it's like the Eco Village. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been up in there a couple of times, up to the pump house at number 90. So it's like, yeah. So no, I didn't notice any big discrepancies when I was up in there, but I haven't been on many calls up there, only maybe 3 or 4. So again, that's something that we can definitely work on and help people. If they have a number and they are not able to post it, we can help them. That's the least we can do. And then the only other thing I'm working on right now that we're going to push out
it's almost, we're just getting into the incipient stage of hurricane season and in preparation for the winter storm season. It's kind of an offshoot of that code red, so people are prepared, and they'll get, I'll do it in a weekly thing after that, is like self-help kits for a family in a home, notification, what to do if there is a storm, how to stay at home during the storm, little like safety things like that. We'll release a little bit every week so that people don't get inundated with it, and they can kind of like take it and just digest it and see where they need to be with their particular homes and their particular families. So that's kind of like in a nutshell where we are. I know it's been busy here. We've been doing 5 to 6, 7 calls a day for the past 5 or 6 days. So things are starting to ramp up, and we've had some interesting calls. They had a overturn one on the highway Friday night. That was interesting. So it was like, the highway is the highway. So it's like, that's kind of like where we are. That's really kind of like that in a nutshell. That's what we got going on here. And do I have any questions?
Of the EMS calls, how many of them are for the urgent care clinic up in Highland Commons? Because I know that was a big concern when they opened up.
Yeah, I think they just opened back up. They had closed, and they were like a COVID, some type of a specialty only. They closed the clinic, and I know of 3. There may be more, but I know of 3 since they opened. And again, they're doing, listening to the fire marshal, they're doing a big expansion there. So they're expanding the clinic somehow, the physical plant. So it's like, so that will only get busier, be more people. And I think when you look around the landscape to the different communities, even the community where I came from, all those clinics are growing. Way to, instead of hammering the EDs, they go to the clinics now, which is a good thing.
It is one of my small pet peeves in life that they are the Emerson Urgent Care of Hudson, even though they're in Berlin and rely on our EMS and our support. But, you know, when it comes to like, where is Berlin? It's like, oh, well, we don't have an urgent care. Yes, we have an urgent care. It just calls itself Hudson.
Yeah, no, yeah, good point. Good points.
So is there only one urgent care up there, or is one expanding, or are they making a second one?
No, there's one that the Emerson one is, Chris is expanding. I don't know exactly on the square footage, but I think it's at least like another 50% of the footprint more, or even larger. So it's like, but I'm just kind of getting involved with that. Dave fills me in what he's going through on the fire marshal on the planning stages of that with Rich, the building inspector. So it's like just to try to stay on top of that. But that'll be like they're busy everywhere. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the wave of the future. That and the paramedicine going out. I'm actually getting some programs when you get into the LS where they're having the paramedics, fire-based and private, go and doing homes, things like that. You know what I mean? And people don't even go to the clinic. So it's like it's evolving. That whole healthcare thing is evolving constantly. Just kind of try to stay on the wave a little bit and move with it.
Margaret, did you have a question?
She's on mute.
You're mute.
See, I do that on purpose so I don't butt in. Chief, a question for you. Any idea from the fire marshal when the expansion would be finished? Because of course I equate all of this to revenue impacts. And so over the past 3 months, we've probably lost some. With an expansion, we'll gain some and work. So any idea when the expansion will be complete?
That's a very good question, Margaret. I do not know sitting here right now, but you'll get the message in the morning.
Okay,
When we
sounds
see
good,
him,
thank you.
In the AM, I will find out, and he's got a rough idea when they expect the occupancy to be done. And then you'll know as soon as I know.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds good.
Good question.
Any other questions for Chief Clark? Peg?
See, I wait to the end when everybody else is. Chief, any impact? I know that some of the apartments are now occupied at Riverbridge. Has there been any noise or services needed over there? Everybody good?
No, we've done, I think 5 to 7 fire calls there, and they did their first medical on the 3rd floor. So they just used the chest there. And I don't think they started to like transport, but then it was canceled for some reason. So the person didn't go, but they're up on the 3rd floor. And I think there's only been like maybe 2 medicals there, 3 maybe so far, but none of the buildings are at capacity yet.
Okay.
Building 3 looks like it's getting there. Had some discussion yesterday. Some of the personnel, or I should say this morning, were in the complex there just doing some in-service. And they said that even at 9 in the morning, the parking lot for the 3 building was really full, which is the initial one that was occupied. So it's moving. People seem to be filling it up. And I will try to I'll make a note here on my next report to you, just have some kind of information percentage-wise of the 3 buildings that are occupied now, what percentage of what percentage of the building is occupied.
Okay.
So they have a rough idea.
Margaret, question for you too, and Chief, since there's a push on the house numbers, not that I want to mention tax bill, but I just said tax bill. Is there any way to stick a little note in there about specifications and what we're trying to do? I mean, obviously you can't put like giant pieces of paper in there. It will increase the cost of the envelope, but like a little piece of paper about, hey, mark your house, you need help, call, blah, 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 go to here, blah, blah, blah.
For a little, I'm sorry, Peg, just to be clear, for a little mailer to the residents of Riverbridge?
Yeah, I mean, if, no, for everybody,
Okay.
everybody. So for the entire town. So, where Chief's trying to push the house numbers, I mean, when the tax bills go out, if, how like the Board of Health stuck something in there for COVID, if you could put just like a little sheet of paper in there about importance of house numbers, specifications, maybe pointers to the website where they can go, who to call, again, just so that no one can say, oh, I didn't know.
Thank you, Peg, through the chair, Chief. So this would be something that maybe the fire marshal would be able to work on, putting a little slip of paper. These are the slips that go, we call them stuffers. It'll go into the tax bill, next tax bills. It'll go out to everyone, and they'll know about the town's street numbering program.
Is there a certain size that paper is so we can kind of tailor the message to fit it properly?
It would have to be a sheet, probably a third of a page that would fit into a standard business envelope.
Okay. I know it's a lot of work, but we could do that here. I have like a 1-page, like 3/4 that I can fold on the stationery and do it. That would work, or you want something that just like fits exactly into the envelope?
Through the chair, either we can work together and we can figure out
I'll show you what I got and you can decide. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep. Through the chair.
Okay.
And then Chief, one more question. Any news update, things that we can think about for a potential chaser truck?
I missed the end. I'm sorry, Peg.
So for the truck, like the chaser truck that you stick the EMT in and go off to the call?
Oh, well, that's kind of like, the plan was not to buy a truck, but to use the existing ambulances because you're in service when you do it. And if it's a ALS transport, sometimes you might bring the patient in, but instead of spending, and again, you're talking $40,000 for a vehicle that you can use to do it, like a pickup truck or something like that. So I think that the initial plan is, and we can revisit it later on, is to just use the existing ambulances. Because one could be busy and there's a backup. If it was only one, then, which some other communities only have one, then a chase car, I think, would be more of where you want to go for your A plan. But we have 2, and it's like, so I think it will save the investment in that chase vehicle and with the existing infrastructure that we have. If that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. All right, Christine, I'm done with my 3.
All right. Margaret, did you have another question or are you set?
It's all said. She says,
Oh,
bye.
Look
bye.
at her.
Lip
She's still on mute. She's mine. It's Margaret's part-time job.
Part of my
She's a
challenge
mine.
is just getting this mouse to work so I can unclick. I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chief Clark. I appreciate
you,
you
Chris.
coming. and-
Thank you, Chief Clark.
Thanks, Chief Clark.
Nice to meet you, Scott.
Yep,
Thank
thanks.
you, Peg.
You bet.
Thanks,
Take
Chief.
care. Have a
Talk to you
good one.
tomorrow.
Be safe.
All right. The next thing on our agenda is to speak with our town hall manager, Lisa Smith. Is she there?
And she's an attendee.
Come on, Lisa.
Margaret, I'm going to pass the baton to you because I've tried 3 times to promote her to panelist. Let's see.
Okay, it says that she's going to be rejoining the webinar as a panelist. I just tried promoting her to panelist, so hopefully it'll work.
Right, you're a co-host. You have the same power. I can't get her.
Come on, Lisa. It says, it's giving me the message that she'll be rejoining.
Oh,
Ken
she
went
just
down.
moved out. Yeah, she just moved out of attendees. Oh,
I know.
Oh,
There
there she is.
Yay, we found her.
Okay, that took a little while. Maybe it's the weather.
That was scary.
Okay, is she here? Okay. I'm not seeing.
Well, yeah, I'm
There's
not
a
sure what's
box.
going on because there's no audio or video.
She's stuck in a little black box.
Oh, here comes the video. She's not on it. And you.
Has to unmute. And I'm asking her to start her video. Lisa? I can drive over there, Lisa. I know where you are at.
Unmute. Hello.
Oh, there we
She is.
go.
Start
Okay.
my video. Come on.
Yay.
Yay.
Oh, no, not that background. I'll work on that. I don't know.
Okay.
So,
All right, Lisa, you have a few things you wanted to talk to us about.
I thought I did that. Okay, so yeah, just the points
looking-
that you guys all got the bulleted stuff and the
Yes.
yes. So
Yes.
you have all that. So I think I'm just waiting for any input. I haven't heard.
Okay.
but,
Well, why don't we start with the fee structure?
Okay.
Are there any questions or comments from the board on the fee structure that she gave us? I just had a quick one. I just wondered whether you did any comparisons,
With
like to other towns or any other similar.
no, you know what? I didn't. I thought about doing it with places that rent out like VFWs, or I just didn't get to that. No, I didn't.
Okay.
But I suspect, I mean, from what I've seen and from what I know of people renting places, that it's fairly inexpensive or right on par from what people I know that have rented places. So
Okay.
yeah,
I
or
think-
lower, certainly lower for Berlin residents and nonprofit.
Right. And I would assume that if you felt it was not competitive at some point, you could let us know. We could take another look at it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I thought it would be best right now to kind of keep it level and just make it consistent. Looking at different contracts. One had a whole building, $400, another one $600. It was really all over the map. So what I did is just made everything very consistent. So it made sense. Oh, if I'm renting this, and it would go up this much, throughout, all of that. But as far as raising it, yes. I didn't want to shock anyone that's currently, and I want to get them back. But yes, as soon as, demand gets higher, then prices go up. So absolutely.
Well, you can keep us posted on that.
Yep.
Yeah,
But I
Lisa,
don't
you've got,
foresee that for a while, given the restrictions right now. So
Right.
yeah.
And I know we had kind of talked about the use of the building. And I know that the group that was taking care of the building previously wanted to keep it with the arts.
Correct.
And if maybe if Margaret and Mary tell us that we don't need the building for meetings, that's fine with me. I just, occasionally there's an overflow here at the town offices, and, we may need to at some point use it for meetings for different committees or.
Sure. And that was actually in that user's guide, that it was open to town government. But I believe in the old user's guide, you had to book 45 days in advance. I changed that to 60. But that was the only change I made because it is taxpayer funded. It certainly should be accessible, I think, to government. So I didn't want to change the initial intent of the building. I do want to do arts. I want to do cultural events. I do think government should be able to use the building with enough notice, which has happened in the past. So I don't foresee that being a problem. I just want to add other things in addition to that, not take away from what's happened, but supplement it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys have any question on the use? Peg?
Just have one, at least, and again, apologies for not meeting you on Friday. I hate it when work gets in the way of fun work. Where you had, where'd it go? You had no smoking. And again, I don't want to be nitpicky, but I don't want to be dragged into that, discussion of, well, vaping isn't smoking, that type of thing. So do we need to go to?
I'm sorry, I don't want no.
In the user's guide and the rental information, you had no smoking. No smoking is allowed. Do we need to expand that to say like no smoking, no vaping, anything like that?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yep, I was just,
Okay.
I pulled that off the old user's guide. Yeah, so
Okay.
no smoking, no vaping.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, that's easy.
And then Margaret, as we go forward, as the different phases roll out, do we need to have any type of COVID waiver, in here? So no one, I know, so no one can come back in a couple months and go, oh, well,
Yeah, I think
Lisa
we
let
should,
me had an event and blah, blah, blah.
yeah, we should probably add that to the indemnity agreement. And Lisa, I actually have the indemnification agreement is part of this, but we could probably do a special COVID indemnification agreement. I have a couple of other templates that we could use for release of liability and things like that I'll share with you.
Okay.
But we could, for COVID, it's going to be hopefully a temporary thing, and we can just add, a clause or do something special in addition to this.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yep, I'll look at those and add that in.
Yeah, I'll send those to you tomorrow.
Probably won't add it into the initial contract. We'll just add it on until this, yeah. We may have to, I don't know. We'll wait and see. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Mission statement. Any questions on the mission statement? I see nothing. Or do we have any more information on the cooperative workspaces?
Peg and I were actually going to meet last Friday on that.
Sure, publicly shame me, Chris. That's nice. Good job.
I didn't know.
But she didn't bother showing
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
so
see-
nothing got done. Threw me off. But that's just between us. No. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, Lisa, you fit right in. Welcome aboard. Yeah.
The problem with the workspace, it's a great idea, but
I know.
I've been thinking a lot about it. So I took my little loudspeaker and my JB Flip, and I put it upstairs in the grand hall, and I blasted it, and then I went throughout the building. And here's the conflict: if we open up the selectmen's room for workspace program, which would be great, it means, however, that no one else can be in the building because the noise will go through, and I don't think anyone would want to. Okay, so be in the building at the same time, so we can open it up during a time that people aren't going to be there. But say I have someone who wants to do a music class with little kids during the day, or a dance class, or this or that, you're going to have noise, so they wouldn't. So renting out one part of the building is going to eliminate the availability of another part of the building. Now, if we went forward with the workspace and we said, oh yeah, we're going to outfit this whole thing, here's my next concern. If we say we take the Barnes Hall, the downstairs hall, and we create a workspace with that, buy the computers, the printers, the Keurig, the whole bit, and we do all that, okay, that's the only thing then that can happen when it's being rented out for a workspace because of the noise factor. The second concern would be that, okay, now we're going to open it up at night for a theater group. Who's going to pack up all those computers and make them secure? How are we going to keep the whole thing secure? So that's where I'm finding a conflict in really what we want to do with this building. I love the idea of a workspace. I love the idea of applying for a grant and getting free money. Who wouldn't? But you know, I've been talking to a lot of the townspeople, a lot of the locals. I've been out there and chatting it up, and I think making that a workspace building as a primary thing to fill it up during the day is kind of conflicts with what people wanted that to be, and in keeping with the original mission statement and expanding on it to offer more community type of activities, I think would be A, more profitable, and B, more in line with what people are looking for. I don't think they were looking to make it an office building. So I did a lot of thinking about it because I was initially very excited. Yeah, let's get who we can in there. Now, we can still use it for that, but I don't think turning it into a workspace is the way to go. So those are my thoughts on that at this point.
Okay. Well, we got a few other buildings. Maybe we could do it at another building.
You have a few.
Oh, so Margaret, you want us to take a vote on the fee structure, the use, the mission statement?
Yeah, understanding that this is a work in progress. Lisa has to open up the building first and get some renters in there, and come back to the board with recommendations on changes to the fee structure later. I think these are in good shape now for the board to act on to at least get things going.
Okay.
I'm sorry, maybe I just don't understand. You're acting on the fee structure now, and then you may do something different later? Is that?
Later, based on your recommendations, Lisa, if you feel that any changes need to be made to this document or the fee structure, all you need to do is come back to the board and ask for
in the
amendment.
future. But if everyone's okay with it now, I can move forward with what is there. Okay, good. I just don't want to start soliciting business and say, well, I'm sorry, that fee structure I gave you last week. Because, you know, Peg, so I'm kidding. So,
I'll take the blame. I got the blame for everyone. We're all good.
I'm sorry, I'm kidding. But anyway, yeah, okay, all right. I just wanted to just to be clear in my own head, because I'm gearing up. So,
All right.
Did you guys get to see the video?
Oh, I'd like, after the board acts on this, if the board would like to see the video, I have it queued up to show. It's a few minutes, right?
All right.
It's a minute and I think 37 seconds.
So do I hear a motion to approve the fee structure, the use, and mission statement?
You do. I make a motion to accept the fee structure and mission statement as is, but subject to change
And the use?
and the use of.
Uh-huh. And do I hear a second?
I will second that, sure.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions from the board? All right. Seeing none, then we'll take a vote. Keefe, aye.
Stone, aye.
Hawkins, aye.
That's unanimous.
Right. Would you like me to show the video?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay. If it's up there, let me just quickly make sure that my,
Oh, gotta scroll.
is it up?
It is up, but you have to start it from the beginning. It's halfway through.
It looks like it's downloaded halfway through. It's the players at the start.
Oh, okay. Let me make sure that my computer sound, okay, I'm gonna try playing.
There you go.
Very nice.
That is nice.
It's nice. It only made me twitchy when I saw all those people standing so close to each other.
Me too. I was like, well, that was pre-COVID.
Wait.
All right,
I'll edit it when I have the COVID videos out there.
No, it's perfectly fine. It was actually a very nice video.
That was nice, yeah.
well done. All right, so I have a nitpicky question because, well, that's what I do. Since we are now the select board, do we have to change it to the select board meeting room or can we leave it?
Well, it was a selectmen's meeting room when it was a selectmen's meeting room.
Well, I mean, it's a historical
Yeah.
building. Can we just let it go? All right, Margaret shaking yes. All right, there we go. Okay.
I think we should. That's part of the history.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
The select board has never met in that room. Only the selectmen have met in that
That's
room.
right.
That's
There you
right.
go. Okay.
I mean, I can easily change it, but
Nope.
I think you could slow it down just a little bit, Lisa.
okay. The reason it's not slowed down and it's so fast is because with video, that's actually a really long video for people to watch.
Oh,
That is the marketing video.
and they can pause
But
it.
it's 1 minute and 37 seconds. People don't want to watch more than 20 to 30 seconds.
Oh.
So, but I wanted to convey what was in there, what's available, and what's done there, so people who have a creative mind can look at it and say, oh, I could do this in here, and people who don't look at the bill and say, oh, I'd never use that. Oh, you could do a wedding there. Oh, you could do that.
Yep.
So I 100% agree it's fast, but that's the only way to pack that information in, and I
Or you
actually
can also
intend to
pause it.
Pardon me?
You could pause
Yeah.
it too.
People could pause if they want to see something
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. So that's
Right. There's going to be more videos coming from that are actually short and snappy, like just weddings, just showers, just this, just that. Once I actually can get video of people in there. I took a lot of pictures myself the other day on the inside of the building, and then I pulled there was a photographer who had done a bunch of events, so it was awesome. I was able to, grab those photos. So
that's great.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Well
So,
done.
thank you.
Good job.
Oh, it's fun. I love doing it. So
The 1870s on the map.
it will be. Fortunately, Facebook the Berlin Neighbors Connect just accepted me as allowed to post. So I'm going to inundate the town now. So
Lisa, do Berlin Residents United as well.
yes, I've already sent it to them.
Okay. I know Jane. If she gives you, if I work with Jane, so if she gives you any hassle, just give me a call. I'll call her. But
right.
you'll be fine.
All right.
The difference is that the Berlin Neighbors Collect, you need to, or Connect rather, you need to have your posts approved where the Berlin Residents United, as long as it's not nasty, it just goes right up.
Oh, interesting. I don't think,
Yep.
yeah, that would be
Okay.
down a video.
But that's just the difference between the two, if you were wondering.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Oh, I had one quick question, Margaret.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to post on the Town of Berlin webpage?
Yes, on your own page. Do you
No,
need to put
I
news?
actually have the 1870 one. I'm the only one that has access to that.
Yeah, you want to put it on the homepage?
But the Town of Berlin's webpage,
Yes.
Facebook page. I'm sorry, Facebook page, not the webpage, well, not the website. I have to deal with that too.
Yep.
I meant the Town of Berlin Facebook page.
Yes. So the Town of Berlin Facebook page, you'll coordinate that with Mary.
Yep,
Oh,
just
okay.
send me a message to, a nudge, and then I'll share it over.
Okay, yeah, because I love, I actually did a comment when you posted me. That was so horrifying.
I saw that. No, I saw that. No, it
But I
wasn't.
wanted to get my own introduction out there as kind of a first start. So if you get a chance, so I'll send stuff to you to post. That looks really good. And lemonade. And if you can post that video, do you need me to send it to you like a Google Drive or anything?
No, I have the link.
You have the link, you can do it. Okay.
But why don't you write up what you want to accompany it? And then I could just, if you post it on yours, I will share it from your 1870 Facebook page onto the town's. It'll be a share. That way it's exactly as you drafted it.
Oh yeah, all I did was 1870 Town Hall. That's all I titled it. So,
I'll talk to you about it.
all right, cool. Thank you. All
Okay.
right.
Are there any other questions for Lisa?
Oh, good work.
Yeah, nice job.
All right.
All right, well, thank you for coming.
Hey.
Yay!
Good job.
I'm the Blitzkrieg. All right. My favorite part. Thank you. Good to see
Thanks,
everyone.
Lisa. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, gonna move on to the town administrator report.
Okay, I'll pull out a few things from this week's. First of all, our Council on Aging Director began her official duties last week. She started off really well organizing her office. I have her doing a couple of kind of time-sensitive projects. The first one is on senior tax work-off because the program year has just begun. And the other is COA van COVID protocols and getting the van service back up and running. So she's working on those things. Her regular office hours for the public's information will be, they are Tuesday and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Friday, 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. The accountant's year-end notices went out at the end of June. Books are going to be closed on Wednesday. So anyone who is awaiting sending in any payroll or bills need to act on that quickly or encumber funds. So departments are also being reminded this fiscal year to track all payroll, including use of leave and expenses every single week. So that's going to be a topic of discussion at Wednesday's department heads meeting, and to complete their monthly reconciliations in a timely manner. So we're working on that for this year. Now, last week we got a notice from Division of Local Services that there is continued uncertainty with state revenues. That's quite obvious, which could create problems with setting the tax rate for the coming year. So we also knew this might be an issue. So last week I mentioned to the board that the Board of Assessors has voted to give notice to the board about issuing preliminary semi-annual tax bills this year because of the issues, the potential issues with COVID and the revenue questions. I wanted to follow up that we also got our fourth quarter meals and rooms tax distributions, and just as we suspected, very, very significant drops in both of those in the fourth quarter. There was a decrease in the meals tax revenue of almost 68%. And in rooms tax revenue, there was a decrease of almost 99%. So we do hope that both of these sectors recover slowly and get back on track. But fortunately, we have we have planned for reductions in state aid. And this is one of those areas that we were watching carefully. So we're going to continue to watch this carefully. The Bullard House quotes on structural surveys under the state's construction procurement law they're due this Wednesday, by the end of the day. The first host community agreement negotiation session with C3 Industries is scheduled for Tuesday, July 21st. Chris Keefe and I will be participating in that with C3 Industries. And right now we have all of C3's documentation that they submitted to the board in the hands of town council, who's doing the review on the draft agreement and on all the license application paperwork that was submitted by C3. Last week's town office reopenings by appointment only, that was delayed to this week so that staff could settle in a little better and adjust to the established workplace safety protocols. And overall, folks are adjusting really well. I have asked staff to check each other, and if they see a violation, if they see anything wrong, just to speak up. You know, we're here for each other and we want to protect each other's safety. So that said, appointment only business transactions are going to begin this Wednesday after I review the protocols with department heads. And we'll be posting information on our website and on Facebook so that residents and others can know how to make appointments and contact departments they want to visit. Visitors, for the public's information, visitors are going to be required to wear a mask inside the building, and we're going to be keeping visitors logs in the lobby of the building that visitors will sign in the event that contact tracing is needed. So in this week's Town Administrator Report, I attached some articles that had been deferred to a future special town meeting early this spring when the board trimmed down the annual town meeting warrant. So I provided a list here. I am actually thinking about making a recommendation in the not too distant future to the board to consider holding a special town meeting in late September or early October to at least address some of the bylaws that we had to defer, if not some of the finance articles as well. There is also an article that was deferred on special legislation to allow the fire chief to serve beyond his 65th birthday. That would be another thing that might have to be addressed. Last week, a group of town officials, just an informal group, and no quorums were present. We had a pre-project review discussion with the Love All Serve All Foundation, LASA Foundation representatives. They are planning or they're hoping to buy the 47-acre parcel of land off of Central Street near 495 to build a very large congregation hall and annexes. So community hall, they presented recently to the select board and kind of gave an overview. So this meeting that we had last week with them, and Peg was in attendance at the meeting, there was a discussion about the permitting process and the steps that they need to take to deal with wetlands issues and planning issues and design issues for their buildings. So we did have some officials from each of those boards and committees. It was really helpful. So they're going to be in touch. I'm serving as the primary point of contact for the town until they get situated with the boards and committees they're dealing with, and they'll take over. Peg, do you have anything to add on that discussion?
No, I mean, Chris, you were there when they presented it. Really not much had changed from when they initially spoke to us. Carolyn McDonald was there from Conservation, Tim Wheeler from Planning, and our building commissioner, Richard. Just so that everyone could kind of hear it. It looked like there was initial first view 20,000 foot level, like everyone was like, yeah, this could be good. Obviously concerns for a facility that large was sewer and water, where everyone knows in Berlin, it's, you own it, you build it, you own it with that. But no, I didn't see any reason. No one really raised any like, oh my God, no, you can't come here, go away questions. So I think that they were very well prepared, very willing to talk to us, very willing to try and move forward. I had made a recommendation to Margaret, since it does sit on the Hudson line, that maybe at some point we gather up with the selectmen in Hudson and have a chat with them. Maybe we do the same in Clinton, since it's on that corridor, from Hudson through Berlin into Clinton, just to try and gain larger input into it, because it truly, if it is, love all, serve all, it's just not going to be made for Berlin, people, that it would be nice to have other towns' inputs of, hey, this might be, a great thing, this, because they had asked what types of opportunities there were, what they were looking for us to want from them. So not that Hudson, Clinton, really Bolton have that much of an input, but I think it would be very neighborly for us to reach out and say, hey, potential, it's going up, thoughts, questions, comments, feelings, input. It's going to be all volunteer based. No one who works there is paid. So it might be a good opportunity for community service, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, seniors in high school. Won't that look nice on their resume? Type of thing. So they are very opening and welcoming. So no, it was good. So thank you, Margaret, for the invite. It was very nice to hear them again.
Sure. Okay, so I've asked, thank you, Peg. I've asked the designating boards for the Community Preservation Act Committee to confirm their CPAC designees. I think that we have heard from some of them already. I had initially in my report indicated that at the board's July 20th meeting, the appointment terms of the two at-large members should be extended to June 30th, 2023. And Mary, thank you, Mary, for catching this in the bylaw. The initial term is actually 1 year for the at-large members. So that doesn't have to be changed. In fact, I'm not going to bring anything to the board's meeting on July 20th, and I won't bring anything until we receive the Attorney General's approval of the bylaw. We know that it's been voted again. We just have to wait for the approval. However, because there are designees in place and appointees in place, I am going to see if I can plan or schedule an introductory meeting with the Mass Community Preservation Coalition for late August to get this group in a room or together with the Mass CPC and discuss the development of policies and procedures, because that is the very first step in what the committee has to do. So I am going to be working on that even before the AG's approval comes in. But once the AG's approval comes in, everything's going to be formalized. Riverbridge Development Fiscal Impact Study. I actually just received an update today that the Riverbridge development has achieved the required 150,000 square foot occupancy in order to trigger the $100,000 public safety mitigation payments over 5 years. So we are going to be getting an invoice ready. That invoice is payable by November 1st of each year for the next 5 years. And I think that Riverbridge is going to be growing exponentially now with the apartments becoming occupied. Now, let's see. I only have a couple more things, I promise. MVP, an update on MVP last week. I didn't have dates that had been finally scheduled yet. Now the release of the draft MVP report and the survey results will be done by Central Mass Planning Commission for review to the community on August 13th. So on August 13th, the draft MVP report and survey results will be released for the community's review. A listening session, a community listening session is going to be scheduled for August 27th. And that is going to be an evening session. I think CMRPC is actually going to be scheduling that via Zoom. It will be a remote listening session, and that will be followed by CMRPC's final report submission for MVP, and it'll give us our designation. I submitted a request last week for $25,000 forward funding for the Housing Choice Grant for the town office parking lot. And I am going to, as soon as we have a clearer picture on the construction of the parking lot, we're going to bid it out as a public works construction project under chapter 30. It's actually chapter 39. It's actually chapter 30, section 39M. I put 39. And finally, I think this is finally, on Wednesday, the consultants who did our ADA self-assessment and transition plan are going to be presenting to the department heads their findings. The report is fairly large. It's like a 95-page report. So they have a presentation. I've actually shared it with the board, and we will be sure to put that up on the town website. If we do have a quorum of the board present at department heads meeting on Wednesday morning, I will tape the presentation portion of the meeting for the public's information, and then we will stop taping and go right into our monthly department heads around the table meeting. And that's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Questions, comments? Peg?
You know, I'm always good for a question or two. So Mrs. Nadowitz, you had talked about, I'm saying all the dirty words tonight, you know, taxes and billing. And at one point we were kind of sort of maybe kicking around to go quarterly. Is that something to think of now? You know, what would need to happen?
Yeah. The town has a couple of options. The town could go, and the administrative finance team have discussed quarterly. I think it might be actually even be still on the list on the town meeting articles list. So that is an option. The town could be looking at that, and that certainly would improve cash flow issues. However, it is a little bit more work administratively, operationally. It is a little more work. The other option the town might have is to do preliminary semi-annual tax billing on a permanent basis, which actually would at least spur the early part of the year receipts. It would actually bring them in a little sooner, which could help with our cash flow issues too. So yes, Peg, to answer your question, it's still on the table for discussion, but no decision has been made as to whether or not that's the best course.
Okay. And then final question for you. So on the municipal building, you know, like Scott has a pet peeve, you know that the town barn is my pet peeve as we look at the electricity bills, and even though locked in lower rate for oil, those oil bills, where you had mentioned that a barn architect has confirmed that as-built roof can support the roof mount solar panels. What do we need to do? You know, who do you need for skills and things like that, that maybe we can all start shooting the bushes to find out what to do about grants to get this going?
Yeah, so there are a couple of paths there. If the town decides it wants to own the solar assets, which ultimately would be probably the best scenario, to own the assets and even have battery backup right on site, then we would have to procure engineering services for that. If the town decides to go with a third-party solar installer where we actually lease the assets from the roof, then they typically do the engineering themselves. So I would actually say, now that we're about to close out our Green Communities grant, maybe this is an opportunity to go in the next grant round and see if we can invest in some of our own solar assets for the building.
Okay. So what would you be looking at for skill sets? Because I mean, at like our last coffee talk meeting, people might have been a wee bit hesitant to join full force on a committee for a couple years, but you know, folks said that they'd be interested more in projects. So, you know, not looking for like a job description, but something to put, you know, to put it out there.
Like a buildings.
Yeah. Well, you know, kind of like how Evan popped out of the woodwork and no one expected him, and you know, our little shining savior that he's been. Maybe there's somebody else in town, you know, that we can tap.
Yeah, we'd be looking for someone who has expertise in energy, particularly solar installations. I'm sure there are people around. We might be looking for someone, I don't know if we need someone who's a structural engineer, but that wouldn't hurt to have someone who's a structural engineer.
Okay.
Take a look at it. And of course, we do have the building plans here in the inspections office. So they could come, if it means just coming in to review, to see what the as-built show, that might be helpful.
All right. I'm sure all three of us can start to bang the bushes and, obviously not limited to somebody in Berlin, but never know who knows of a, who knows of a, who knows of a. Okay.
Sure. And I'll pursue other grant opportunities too. Right now there are several grants grant rounds that have been opened with the state. Nothing really for this particular type of project, but then again, we might be able to
Okay.
find something.
Awesome. Thank you, Margaret.
Mhm.
Margaret, I was just wondering where we are with the solar pilot agreement.
The solar pilot agreement, I actually have, I've briefed the board a number of times that the project developer is not at all interested in negotiating a pilot agreement because they fundamentally believe that the assets are tax exempt. The town does not believe that. The town actually, the town is relying on Department of Revenue's opinions on this matter, and we do believe that the assets are taxable. So I have had a template agreement that I brought with me from elsewhere on the same type of project, and I've converted that to Word. I'm actually putting our town's data, our town's cost data that we got from our consultant into that pilot agreement, and I'm sharing it with the project developers. If we get no response or if they push back, I was going to actually just flat out recommend to the board that we bill the project for personal property, which is an option, or we could actually contact our legal counsel to find out what other measures we could take in order to get compliance from them.
Okay, do you want the board to take a look at your document?
Yes, once I plug in all the cost data from the consultant, I do have it in Word now. So once I plug in that data, then you could certainly look at it. Okay. And I can share the consultant's spreadsheets with you as well.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Scott, got anything?
No, I'm fine for the time being.
Give
me a few more weeks.
Oh, God.
If something's gone past you that you don't quite understand, please speak up.
Oh, I get that. I have some opinions here. It's one of them is some of them is just that things are already have some distance down a track. I don't want to sidetrack just because I have an opinion somewhere. So,
but if
I'm
you
fine.
do,
I will speak up when necessary. I'm not a silent person. So.
Okay, or even if you just want to know, okay, what are you talking about? Let us know.
No, I frankly, on this last one, I just sent a tax bill. They've shown no interest.
Yeah.
Send a tax bill. I wouldn't engage our lawyers much. Let them engage the lawyers to fight the tax bill. And we've tried to be nice. I think at a certain point we have a lot of other things going on. Send a tax bill.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. And through the chair, the ZBA's decision, the special permit condition, actually says that tax issues have to be resolved to the satisfaction of the board. It does not say tax issues have to be resolved through a pilot. So that is billing them for personal property tax is a legitimate option.
All right. Shall we move on to old business and the move from general revenue energy accounting from 122 selectmen to 123 town administrator?
Okay, so these two items through the chair are under old business they're combined into one request in your agenda packet. Mm-hmm. First of all, last week, the board approved me to sign off on payroll and expenses moving forward and on the special articles that were either closed out or noted to be left open. Now there are there was a new account that was added under the board's monthly reconciliation sheets in back in January. Mary, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think it happened back in January because of the issues with quorum on the Energy Committee. They had formally come under the Energy Committee. Since there is a lack of quorum on the Energy Committee and it's not really existent at this point, I have assumed some of the tracking of the energy initiatives, the funding, the revenues and expenditures, along with the accountant's office. This particular account, 122-4200 energy charge, is the one that I am asking to be reassigned by the town administrator, because I am more apt to get the information from the municipal energy aggregation adder on a monthly basis than Mary is able to get. So it would be easier for me to sign off on that and confirm that the amounts are correct. The other piece of this is a request that I co-sign on the monthly reconciliation statements with Mary for non-general fund accounts under the Board of Selectmen's jurisdiction. So anything that's listed as a special, a trust fund, a special revenue fund, or what have you, that is not a general fund operating budget line, I'm asking to co-sign on.
Okay, questions, comments? Motions?
I make a motion to move from the general revenue energy accounting from number 122 selectmen to number 123 town administrator, and at the same time authorize our town administrator to co-sign number 122 selectmen non-general fund accounts with our administrative assistant to our town administrator.
Do I hear a second?
I will second.
All right. Anything else to be said?
Oh, I'll let the board vote first and then I'll, go ahead, board, please vote first. I'll add my 2 cents after.
All right. Well, unless it's too late.
Yeah, really, is it going to impact how we vote?
No, it's, no,
Margaret?
it's not.
It's
No,
called,
it's
you
not.
know, bait and switch. All right.
No, it's not.
Okay.
All right. Then let's take a vote. Keith, aye.
Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
All right.
Okay, I just wanted to add that I've gone over both of these requests from last week and this week with June. So she's getting a copy of the requests that I submitted to the board, but she's also going to need a copy of the minutes. Mary, if you could please provide that to her, she's going to need that, and we should be all set. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're moving on to new business. And do we have any end of the year line item transfers?
No, this was a placeholder in case there was anything. The Finance Committee is going to have 2 reserve fund transfers on Wednesday. They're both very small. One is for less than $1. It was a payroll shortfall. It's less than like 53 cents. The other is a little over $200, if I'm not mistaken, for data systems charges. So that's it. So this is all set here.
Wow.
Margaret. Nice.
Spending with
Scott-
it. We call that spending with an appropriation.
That's right. You can see
When it
Scott
all
kind of starting to twitch, you know, when you said line item transfer, you know, just ever so.
No, I was twitching at less than $1 and thinking of how much time we're going to spend on transferring.
That's
53
right.
cents, but I'm planning on
Oh.
debating that. I plan on debating that one heavily and understanding why we got to the 53 cent shortfall.
All righty. Well,
Wow.
let me know if you want to put that on the agenda.
Oh. We'll go back to the beginning of last year for that one.
All right, so then we'll move on to approve the FY21 legislative funding request.
Okay. Through the chair, Senator Tran reached out to the town asking for priority projects the town would be interested in. Of course, there was a disclaimer that given the state's budget situation, nothing is guaranteed, but he'd be interested in hearing what projects are of interest to the town. So Mary put together this list of feedback she received on a few different projects, and I would ask the board, if you've had a chance to read these, to put them in priority order, and we could submit them to Senator Tran's office this week.
Okay. So you all take a look at the list, I assume. And do you have any comments or?
Those photos don't look like they're taken at our tennis courts.
No, they're definite. Mary's providing all the really good photos.
Well, you
She's got some
know,
good ones there.
I did
They're
want to
potholes.
do pickleball. So, you know, that one right there, that's a pickleball
That was for you, Peg.
Thanks, Mary. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So we've got, just for the public's knowledge, it was a rehab, possible rehab of the tennis courts and the basketball courts at the South Common. And what was the other one, Margaret?
The other one is to procure and install electric vehicle charging stations at the town offices.
Okay. So do we have a priority? You've got the electric car, Scott, do you not?
I have 2 electric cars, actually.
Oh, my.
I'm just trying to figure out that, so I've actually charged one of my electric cars at town offices of other cities and town, or other towns that I have driven through on a couple of trips through New Hampshire and Maine. I would be floored if it's just $30,000 for something like that, though.
I should add, well, first of all, when the parking lot is torn up here, they are going to lay conduit in order to put EV charging stations in. So if we don't have them when the parking lot's done, we can be ready for them later. The other thing is that National Grid has some incentive programs out there, and this is another possible Green Communities grant program project. So there are other options out there for these. I can't verify the cost, but this is something that's been talked about, I know, over the past year since I got here and before.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about level 2 or level 3 chargers?
You'd probably have to ask Chief Galvin, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Those
And then-
numbers, Scott, just really, I just pulled up some devices on
Yep.
air. And they
Yep.
may not be good numbers at all.
Because it is funny. It is more expensive if you got one that has sort of brains to it that is trying to collect like who is charging and try to charge people back. But you can put in, the type of stuff I have in my garage for I'm going to look at Ross. I thought we did about $750 or $1,000. Now they're not dual port charging stations. They're just one at a time, but you could put 3 or 4 of them next to each other and get to that point for less cost. Again, there's no way of charging anyone or paying for the electricity, but it is cheaper to install. But I think for this level of the request, I think it is fine. I would at least add to a detail to it that whether it's a level 2 or level 3, the difference between the two is the rate at which you can charge a vehicle. Level 3 charges probably about 50% faster than a level 2 charger.
Oh,
All right. Good information.
So, Margaret, I had a question on the basketball courts
Yes.
and the tennis courts. And I don't know if this is an us thing or if it's a rec thing, but you know how down, where the soccer fields are, there's like a little snack shack. It doesn't have any running water in it. So, I think that limits the snack shack that when and if, teams are able to play on those fields, for them to dish out food. So I don't know if that's a possibility. And, maybe Julie and the rec committee are more knowledgeable on this, but I don't think anything's ever been done with the fields. I don't know if they're in a condition to be rented out,
It's made it difficult for them to get food certified too, because they don't have the running water there.
Yeah.
As far as the condition of the fields themselves, they actually have, I don't want to say that they have contracts, but they have
Okay.
worked with a vendor in
Okay.
order to improve the fields.
All right. So can we do anything about the snack shack?
I've actually worked in the snack shack years ago. And really, I think unless they're serving different things than they were then, they were, using a hot dog machine to keep, to warm hot dogs and making coffee. And,
Yeah, but
So they brought their own water.
right.
Yeah, you do a 5-gallon container.
so I mean, I can't imagine, well, I don't know, because I'm sure they would have to rip up the driveway at the school or do something to hook into a water source if the school would even allow it. But, if we're looking at doing something with, tennis and basketball courts, if you could throw the snack shack in there
Mhm.
as well to do something with it.
Okay.
You can use it in there as an option anyway to use the money for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and it's like the same thing. I don't know what the baseball fields are like for, dugouts and covering. I can't wait for this mess to kind of be, I won't say over because I don't think it'll ever be over, but, to get to the point where there's going to be, the kids come back to town to play fall ball, to play, because I know that Tohoto is out of room. I think they just started a lacrosse team. So that, picks up a lot of the field that they have now. So geez, wouldn't it be nice to work with, Tohoto for soccer and things like that, to be able to come and use the fields.
Hmm.
So
as far as, so you're looking at snack shack improvements to provide running water and
Yeah.
services to people using the field. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I do know, I mean, I know the school's going to play into this, but
Correct.
I don't see why they couldn't do directional boring and
Yeah.
run water lines.
Okay.
We'll,
Yeah. Well, yeah,
the experts handle that.
Right. Well, I figured while you were asking that, why not throw it in?
Okay.
And I really don't have any preference as to one or the other. Do we have to put it in a priority?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Doesn't money become available occasionally and it has to be used for a certain type of thing? So
It's
it,
whatever pocket they can find it from.
Right, and these are two fairly diverse and different projects. I can't imagine there's a pool of funding that we'd have to choose between electric car charging stations or basketball courts.
right.
It's good. It is a nice diversity here.
I can tell you that when I was on FinCom, so years ago, Rec came for a warrant article to repair the tennis courts and basketball courts, and the price they put on at the time was about 100,000. Although I think that was a pick a wild number out of a hat number as opposed to a real number from a bid.
Given that our highway crew has the ability and the equipment to demolish the stuff, we're talking about rehabbing after that, I think. So, And speaking of, excuse me, Mary, could you change that demolish replace to rehabilitate? Well, that's what it is. It's rehabilitating.
God, could you drain the pond behind it too, and get rid of the muck while you're there? If you're rehabbing, yeah.
So the board consensus is to just submit both of these then, and add the
Yeah.
snack shack to the South Street.
Yeah,
South Commons. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, and we'll identify level 2 or level 3 chargers for the EV charging.
All right, good.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Moving on to board questions and comments, like we haven't asked enough already.
Wow. Wow. I can just keep delaying mine. I don't care. My list doesn't go away.
Oh
So,
boy.
no, well, let Scott go first.
No, I was gonna say I yield my time to Pegstone.
Oh, I like Scott even more and more every day. So, and I know that this is something for an agenda. It's not like it's not a right away thing. We tried it before, didn't really get a lot of traction on it. I do want to see if we can establish some goals and objectives for the board, for us to work on throughout the year, and to take those those goals and objectives and to publicize them. Get them out. Let the town folk know what we're doing, except, sitting behind the pretty desk, on Monday nights when we can ever get back there. I think we owe it, to the people to let them know what we're doing with that. So maybe that's something that we can all start to think about.
Yeah.
Margaret, you and I had started a discussion, and it jogged my memory today as I whizzed through the center of town about cemetery and moving the position out of 1099 to employee, just because, well, I saw it getting weed whacked while I was there, so figured I would bring it up. I don't know what we need to do with that one. solar panels for roof, and that was it. The other ones can wait.
Okay. I just was wondering, Margaret, whether it looked by some emails that the Cultural Council may need some assistance.
Assistance with,
I think it was, I don't know whether it was organization. Mary probably knows more about it than I do because she was emailing with MJ. But if they need assistance, quite possibly, I think it's something that we should be willing to help them with as far as organizing of
I will
their-
look into that.
their election, not election, but their time that they're on.
Appointment terms?
Yes, appointment.
Oh, Cultural Council's an interesting one.
Or
That's a,
who is, on the board actually, and what their terms are and that kind of thing.
yeah,
If they want our help, I think that, we should help them out.
okay. Yeah, Cultural Councils are actually, they're one of those boards that's governed by statute, so the appointment terms are, have to follow that, and they're only allowed to serve so many consecutive terms and they're done, so.
Right. And I think that, I'm not sure that Berlin's been following that to the T, but,
Okay,
we do our best.
yeah. All right, I'll reach out to MJ.
All right. That was all I have. So we do have need for an executive session this evening. So we will enter executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2. And we will return to open session, but only to adjourn. So we have to do a roll call vote. Keith, aye.
Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Okay, and we will leave this meeting and we have direction in order to log into our executive session.